Welcome, this is your all-time favorite snazzy. Today we are going to see what if Goku and the Z fighters prevented the hero's self-destruction. So let's move on the video. Age 782. It had been over 2 years since the events of the Tournament of Power, the battle with Broly, and the Planet Eater Moro's invasion. Right after those events, the Z fighters had stepped up their training, preparing themselves for the worst, knowing that even more powerful enemies could potentially threaten all of the 12 universes in the future. Even the human fighters went back to their training since then, and thanks to the hyperbolic time chamber, they are now able to use the Kaioken technique without much issue. Goten and Trunks, who were tired of being left out of the fight one too many times, finally decided to take their training seriously by training in the time chamber as well, and also with their own fathers. By the time they were finished, both half Saiyans were far stronger than they ever were before, as they now actually looked their age, having both gotten a sudden growth spurt, with Goten now 15 years old, while Trunks was now 16. Plus, they went through a wardrobe change, with Trunks now wearing an outfit similar to his future counterpart, that being a black tank top, black pants, and yellow boots, while Goten wore an orange and blue guy similar to when he was a child. His hairstyle still resembled his father's, but he had thought about changing it though. Gohan as well had continued his training in order to prepare for when the next universal threat reared its head. Through training with Whis as well as his father and Piccolo in the time chamber, Gohan had put all of his effort to become strong again, to the point that he even managed to far exceed his own potential. The Z fighters were currently in Capsule Corporation celebrating Bulma's 49th birthday party, even though she claimed that it was her 40th. Ranging from left to right, the former bandit Yamcha was seen conversing with the Shaolin monk Krillin and Turtle Hermit Master Roshi, as well as the former Crane students Tien and Chiaotzu. The Prince of all Saiyans, also known as Vegeta, was leaning on the wall watching his daughter, Bulla, playing with Krillin's daughter Marin, while his son Trunks was sparring with his rival's second-born son Goten. The Satan family was also attending. Hercule was with his daughter Videl and his 2-year-old granddaughter Pan. While the Namekian Piccolo was chatting with Lapis, better known as Android 17, who had arrived with his own wife and adopted children. The heiress of Capsule Corporation and wife of Vegeta, Bulma Briefs, was talking with Krillin's wife Lazuli, also known as Android 18, and the Ox King's daughter and Goku's wife Kai Kai. High up in the sky, the remaining members of the Sun family were currently in a friendly spar that was well overdue. Both Son Goku and Gohan were each wearing their usual orange and blue guy, as they traded even blows with one another in order to see just how much their power had grown these last couple of years. But unfortunately for our heroes, this joyous occasion would be cut short as a portal suddenly opened above Capsule Corporation. Goku and Gohan found themselves being dragged by an unknown force. Even with all their immense power, the force was too great even for them. The two Saiyans then noticed that they weren't the only ones experiencing the same dilemma, as the rest of the Dragon team, even Vegeta and Piccolo, were being pulled into separate more portals that had opened up as well. The last thing Goku saw before everything went black was the looks of despair on his loved ones' faces. Marvel Universe. Broxton, Oklahoma. Son Gohan had blacked out only for a moment. When he came to, he shuffled off some rubble that had slid onto his body. He barely registered the crowd of people who had been staring at him that began to back off as he began to rise. When he climbed out of the crater, people began to back up and others flat out ran from the strange spiky-haired man dressed in orange. His intense gaze had made several people almost soil themselves. Before anyone could respond, another impact rattled the ground. Cars had either been crushed or scattered by the impact. Both turned to see what could only be described as a humanoid with blue skin and white hair, dressed in a red bodysuit with white armor covering his chest and black cape-like pants. This stranger looked around with a blank look on his face as people started at and aghast. The humanoid was enveloped by a crimson aura, as the force of it caused cars to be picked up and scattered like leaves in a breeze. Unlike places like New York, the people of Broxton weren't really used to superhero battles, as they frantically scattered to dodge the flying cars. They decided right then and there that it was time to move out of the small town. I have a bad feeling about this, Gohan said seriously as he began to move forward. Whoever this being was, he had threatened innocent lives, was thus a threat that needed to be stopped. The hybrid could already tell that his opponent's power was not to be taken lightly. Then a dark energy blast almost hit him and stopped the Saiyan dead in his tracks. He looked to its source and saw the culprit. It was a woman with long white hair, light blue skin, and purple eyes. The right side of her hair was longer than the other and hung in front of her chest. She had a golden infinity sign-shaped hair accessory that covered the back and both sides of her head. Her attire consisted of a red and black skin-tight bodysuit that had a V-shaped hole around her stomach and had slits on the bottom half, exposing the bottom of her breasts. She wore a wide-open leg cape that was jagged at the bottom and red and black high heels. This woman also carried a brown staff or spear, which had 2 sharp golden points on each end. Wait a minute, I think I remember you too. Me, my father, and Vegeta fought you guys not long after Majin Buu. You said your names were Towa and Mira. Gohan gritted his teeth as he now knew what he was in for. Gohan Towa smirked, brandishing her staff. I'm pleased to know that you remembered our last encounter. So far from home, aren't you, half-breed? Well, you know it's hard not to notice such evil energy, Gohan replied. So I can assume that you are the one responsible for all of this? Me? Towa pointed at herself elegantly and giggled. Unlike the last time we fought, I'm merely an instrument in a much grander scheme. So you're just a lackey who is so powerful that you would cow and submit to? Gohan demanded. That's for me to know and you to find out, but I'll say this, my colleagues, and I shall remake not just this universe, but every other universe in existence. And when we do, my true master shall arrive, Towa scoffed. But why should I tell you all of this? You are going to die anyway. Gohan smirked, are you sure about that? I've grown a lot stronger since last time. I don't think your boy Toy over there can handle my new power all alone. Mira remained stoic, but the bio-creation clenched his fists. Who said he was fighting alone? Towa pulled something from her back, a black-red Dragon Ball with one black star. Do you know what this is? Wait, you have a Dragon Ball? Gohan asked, now looking shocked. He definitely wasn't expecting something like this, and for it to be in the hands of the enemy, this wasn't looking too good for the hybrid. Correct. As a matter of fact, this is a Dark Dragon Ball. Towa smirked. You know that on Universe 7's Earth there are 7 wishing orbs that summon a dragon god capable of granting a wish. Yeah, what's your point? Gohan questioned. Well, this is a more corrupted version of those orbs. The scientist levitated the orb in her hand. These are capable of so much more than granting mere wishes, I will show you. Towa put her hand on Mira's chest and pushed the orb into his chest, and 2 of them began to fuse. The result was a larger Mira with white hair all of his body. This new form was not just for show, as Gohan felt his energy skyrocket. Gohan had never seen anything like this, using a Dragon Ball to increase your power. Such a thing shouldn't be possible. And yet, in Mira's chest was the embedded Dark Dragon Ball itself. The Dark Dragon Balls are capable of increasing a being of pure evil's energy drastically. Towa giggled as she floated above to watch. Make it entertaining for me, won't you, my dear Gohan? Oh, unfortunately, this won't be amusing at all, at least for you. I've been wanting to show the results of my training for some time now. Gohan smirked as a pure white aura enveloped him. Because I'm ending this now. Gohan and Mira then began to exchange numerous blows as Towa looked on with amusement, sitting on her staff. The half-Saiyan had to admit that Mira was definitely stronger than before. But so was he. As he was fighting, he saw that the Dark Dragon Ball embedded in Mira's chest was giving him nearly unlimited energy. Mira flew back and created several large purple energy balls. Apocalypse balls, he began to throw them all at once. Gohan punched, kicked, and blasted all of them away and charged to deliver a Kai-infused punch to Mira's gut. Mira's eyes nearly popped out of his head in pain as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. As Gohan pulled back, he saw that the Dark Dragon Ball glowed and wound healed quickly, with Mira straightening up and becoming stoic once more. Well, that doesn't look good, Gohan grunted, but then got an idea. He stuck one of his hands out and created a blue Kai blade. Mira did the same, although his weapon looked more like a red scimitar. They charged at each other, their weapons clashing around them like a storm, each trying to overcome each other. Mira tried to trap Gohan's blade under his own, but the Saiyan hooked his blade, dragged Mira close to him, and headbutted him. With Mira dazed, Gohan deactivated his sword and struck his hand into the chest where the Dark Dragon Ball was embedded. With the ball in his hand, he tried to pull it out. But instead, his hand was trapped in his chest. Mira smirked as he held onto Gohan's arms. Another thing about the Dark Dragon Balls, they have their very own conscience, Towa spoke as she smirked maliciously. They despise those with pure hearts. Red electricity coursed through Gohan, directly stimulating his pain sensors. The Saiyan gritted his teeth in pain, and Mira used this opportunity to punch and kick his trapped opponent repeatedly. Towa laughed as her enemy was losing the battle. You can't beat my Mira now, Gohan. What will you do? She mocked. To her surprise, Gohan smirked. I won't do anything but my friends will, he stated as several blue energy beams pierced through Mira's back and suddenly a yellow Kai blade impaled through his chest. The ones responsible, much to Gohan's relief, were in fact Trunks, in his Super Saiyan 2 form, and Android 17. Thanks to using a technique his father and his future counterpart had taught him, Trunks had carved out Mira's chest with his blade, freeing Gohan from it. Mira, blood dripping from his mouth and his many injuries, turned around to strike back at his assailants, but found himself paralyzed as he felt 17's barrier compressing all around him. Tri-beam. Kamehameha. From three separate directions came two large blue beams and a yellow triangle-shaped beam, courtesy of Tien, who was dressed in his ceremonial robes, Yamcha in his old orange guy, and Master Roshi in his white tank top, with the former two using the maximum Kaioken, while the latter was using his max power. With no way to defend himself, Mira was engulfed by all three attacks, causing a massive explosion. When the dust settled, Mira now sported several burns and bleeding lacerations all over his body, but he was still very much alive. "Nice work you guys, just one final push," Gohan praised as he powered up along with Trunks and 17 as they readied their signature attacks. "So, if the Dark Dragon Balls are supposed to increase evil energy," Gohan started. "Then pure energy should cancel out its powers," he roared as he launched his Super Kamehameha. "This the end for you, Mira Super Kamehameha." "Buster Cannon," Trunks shouted. "Our Blitz," 17 yelled. Mira could only scream in rage and frustration as he was instantly disintegrated by the combined blast. Despite Mira having been destroyed, the Dark Dragon Ball remained unscathed as it floated to where Towa was. Towa grabbed the floating ball and looked at her enemies with anger and distaste. "My plans are still in motion, you fools. You will only endure even greater suffering for this." She spat. "What are you planning, Towa?" Gohan demanded. "How exactly do you fit into all this?" "Me? As I said before, I am merely a pawn in a grand scheme that was concocted even before you were born," Towa screeched. "No matter what you do, my master will be the one to bring this multiverse to its knees." She disappeared. "Is it over?" Yamcha asked, slouched into Tien's arms already close to the point of losing consciousness due to not having mastered the Kaioken to the same degree Tien and Krillin have. "I believe it is," Roshi said as his muscles deflated back to their scrawny form. The old master was exhausted as well, having used up a bit of his life force in that last attack. "Well, at least we know she is not in this alone," Trunks spoke up. "True, but it doesn't change the fact that we have another universe-ending crisis on our hands," 17 pointed out. "By the way, was that really a Dragon Ball embedded in that man's chest?" Tien asked. "Yeah, they're apparently a negative counterpart to Earth's Dragon Balls that have the special ability to empower those with evil hearts," Gohan explained. "Well, isn't that a kick in the teeth?" Trunks said, now looking frustrated. "And on top of that, we're in unknown territory and also separated from all our friends," Gohan continued. "Speaking of which, how were you guys able to find me so fast?" "Come on, man," Trunks replied with a knowing smirk, "we could sense you guys duking it out over a mile away. It was easy to come to your rescue." "I would have gotten free sooner or later," Gohan joked back, "but seriously, thanks for backing me up. Did anyone see my dad, Vegeta, Piccolo and the others on the way here?" "No sorry, just the 6 of us so far, Gohan," Tien answered, "but judging on how much energy we put out during our battle, the rest of our group can't be too far behind, and that's if they ended up in the same place as us." Yamcha then noticed something out of the corner of his eye that caused him to look up in surprise. Guys. Is it just me or am I the only one noticing the giant floating city being bombed by planes just now?" The former bandit's eyes did not deceive him as everyone else in the group looked up to see it was in fact a massive city that was floating just a few feet above the ground that was currently being assaulted by an invading force. "Okay, what the hell is this now?" Trunks questioned. "I don't know," Gohan said, his expression now serious, "but what I do know is that we may have just stepped into a war zone and I think it's obvious who the bad guys really are." "But we are going to help whoever's in trouble, right?" Tien asked. Gohan could only smirk in response. "Do you even need to ask?" It was then that the Z fighters went their separate ways, determined to help end this conflict no matter what. "It seems that trouble tends to follow me no matter where I go," Gohan mused, as when he got to where the floating kingdom was located at which was in the middle of a grassy plain, he could see that it was total pandemonium. There were many aircraft carriers that were shooting beams right at the city. People wearing strange colorful costumes fighting others wielding swords and shields. What especially caught the half-Saiyan's eye was a man wearing a winged helmet wielding a hammer being bombarded by energy blasts by a rather colorful-looking group. The first one wore armor that had an assortment of colors that consisted of red, white, and blue. There was a white star right on this person's chest. The second was a blonde-haired woman wearing a red and black leotard with a starbolt on its chest. She also wore a red scarf and a black mask. The next ones looked especially strange, one looked completely orange and had a V-shaped crest on his head, the next had purple skin, the third was a giant of a man with silver skin, the next was woman that seemed to be on fire, the last one was another woman who looked like she was made out of gas. Gohan felt his blood boil at the sight of these people beating up this poor man when he couldn't even fight back. He couldn't stand for that, so he then rushed over there as quickly as he could. "Near Asgard. Thor. My name is Norman Osborn and you are under arrest for treason against the United States government. Asgard is now under my jurisdiction, do not try to get up," the Iron Patriot stated to the down god of thunder. "Woof. Moonstone, now posing as the hero Ms. Marvel, remarked in a mocking tone. I want him taken into custody, and I want a full battalion. Before Osborn could say any further, his armor's AI alerted him with one simple phrase. Incoming. Income. The Senko A voice yelled before a yellow energy blast slammed right into Osborn's back, sending him flying. What the hell? Moonstone yelled as she and the other villains turned to see a dark-haired young man dressed in an orange and blue karate guy, glaring at them intently. Using the afterimage technique to make himself appear in multiple places at once, Gohan rushed the group of villains, delivering a devastating blow to each of them. Moonstone, however, turned intangible, and one of Gohan's punches passed right through her, allowing the former villain to kick the half-Saiyan in the chest, which forced him back a step. You can't hit intangible, you dumbass, Moonstone shouted with an arrogant smirk on her face. Gohan narrowed his eyes at her, he then stuck his hand to prepare a Kai-Eye before X-Ray suddenly crashed into Moonstone, sending her sprawling. Gohan turned to see that Thor had regained his bearings and was the one who did the deed. As the villains got back up, they were hit by heavy gunfire coming from a woman wearing a black t-shirt in a pickup truck. This woman was the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mira Hill. Gohan took this time to leap into the fray that was taking place in the upper realm of Asgard. He looked one last time to see Hill drive away in the pickup truck with Thor in tow. What is Mira Hill even doing here, and who in the hell was that kid? Norman demanded to his AI. His armor was damaged from that sneak attack. If it weren't for his shields, he would have been killed. His teammates described the one who attacked him as a dark spiky-haired man dressed in an orange and blue outfit. Needless to say, there are no records of anyone remotely looking like that, and what Osborn hated the most were unknown variables. I'll gladly go after them, and now recovered Moonstone replied. No, Carla, I'm sending Wolverine. He'll track Hill and I'll have all Hammer agents find this kid and take him down, Osborn said. Victoria. I'm here, came the voice of Victoria Hand. You tell Dakin he has my permission to tear through that town. Suddenly, Osborn is struck down by a man wearing a Spartan helmet and brown armor with a skull and crossbones symbol. This was Ares, the god of war. You lied, Ares screamed. Osborn quickly got up and spoke calmly. I did what I had to do to get you into battle, Ares. You would have done the same. Not against Asgard, not against my brothers, and I told you what I would do, Osborn. I told you true. I'm going to pull off your head, armor and all. Sorry to hear you say that. I admire you a great deal, Osborn replied. Before Ares could slice Osborn's head off with his axe, he is suddenly attacked by a man with long golden hair, wearing a gold costume with a blue cape. HR was known as the Sentry. He punched Ares across the face, sending him flying onto the roof of a nearby building. Ares groggily stood up and said, Sentry, I expected more of you. I thought us friends. Sentry just stared at the god of war with piercing glowing eyes. My mistake. Ares concluded as the two charged at each other. Asgard. Gohan was amazed at his sudden surroundings. The buildings were a lot taller than anything the villages ever had. But there was no time for sightseeing. Right now he had to put a stop to all this. Hey, it's that kid that attacked Director Osborn. Take him out. Gohan looked to see an army of Hammer agents coming towards him. Gohan glared at them, ready to take them out, as he then charged directly to the looming set of super villains and army of Hammer agents right front of him. The entire Asgardian army, including Balder the Brave, Sif, and Heimdall, who were busy fighting the invaders off, are now watching in awe, with their mouths hanging open, as Gohan charged without hesitation on a seemingly suicidal attempt to fight against these many opponents all at once. But most of them are surprised about the next scene that happened in the battlefield. Gohan effortlessly evaded the bullets being fired towards him with his unmatched speed as he flew towards the Hammer agents. The moment that Gohan reached them, several Hammer agents were sent flying or incapacitated as Gohan started to casually toss the human soldiers around like ragdolls. As much as he liked to put in a little more strength, he refrained from doing so since he didn't want to accidentally kill anyone in the process, as Gohan wanted to avoid needless killing unless it was absolutely necessary, at least not until he went up against someone that could actually give him a challenge. The Asgardians watching this one-sided battle have their mouths literally hanging open as a single person single-handedly wiped the floor against this entire army of enemies. Never before that have they seen a Midgardian being capable of doing such a level of battle against thousands of opponents and taking them out casually. This boy was indeed the true definition of a one-man army. Once Gohan had taken out a huge majority of Osborn's army, he headed further into the battlefield. He could sense something very powerful not too far from where he was. The battle was not going so well for Ares, as Sentry was tossing him around like a rag doll. He shrugged of all of the God of War's attacks like they were nothing. Sentry slammed right into Ares, sending him crashing into a building. He quickly recovered and leaped at Sentry from behind, intending for a surprise attack. But Sentry elbowed Ares hard in the face, then grabbed his throat. The God of War was now completely at the crazed hero's mercy. Gohan was watching the fight nearby and looked a bit apprehensive at the sentry's display. He could already tell that the sentry was more powerful than anyone here. Such evil energy, I sense that his power is growing by the second, Gohan thought. I better hurry up and do something, because it looks like that guy's about to tear someone in half. Gohan quickly sent a few destructo discs right at the golden hero. One of them sliced off Sentry's left arm. The sentry screamed in agony, causing him to let go of Ares. Sentry quickly recovered and dodged the other incoming energy discs, only to be met with a fist slamming into his face, sending the golden guardian crashing into the ground, creating a huge crater. The sentry got up, black tendrils were replacing his lost arm, his eyes were now glowing crimson red, glaring at Gohan with malicious intent with the hybrid, looking at him with his own killing glare. The Iron Patriot and Moonstone were watching the battle in sheer disbelief, seeing this kid actually holding his own against the sentry of all people. Osborn gritted his teeth in rage, he absolutely hated when his plans didn't go the way they were supposed to. Meanwhile, Dakin, otherwise known as Dark Wolverine, was searching the town of Broxton, Oklahoma for Thor. He had trouble getting the god scent due to the many different scents this town had. Soon enough, Dakin was able to detect Thor's scent at a nearby hotel. Dakin then runs toward the source, only to be struck down by a massive bolt of lightning, leaving the son of Wolverine severely burned. Thor then emerged from his hiding spot. I will not run from you, Osborn, nor from your minions, Thor declared. I will not hide. I will defend my home and the home of my father with my very last breath. You think you've beaten me, Dakin growled as his healing factor allowed him to heal at a much faster rate than his father. Just as he was about to stab Thor from behind, a hand suddenly grabbed the clawed mutant's wrist. Dakin looked to his right to see a green-skinned man wearing purple clothing, as well as a white turban and cape, glaring at him intensely. And just what do you think you're doing? The Namekian Piccolo questioned. Before Dakin could even begin to respond, he felt a fist buried deep in his chest. The mutant vomited a glob of blood as he felt all of his internal organs being turned into mush. Piccolo then tossed Dakin into air and shot a yellow Kai blast from his mouth right at the son of Wolverine, which caused a huge explosion as soon as it made contact. Having witnessed him regenerate from being injured before, Piccolo wasn't sure if that was enough to kill him, but it would at least take the mutant out of the fight for the time being. You there, put your hands in the air, Maria Hill shouted as she pointed her gun at the Namekian. Piccolo merely gave an angry scoff in response. Is that any way to treat the one who saved your lives just now? Hill didn't appear to listen as she just about ready to pull the trigger. Put your hands in the air or I'll. Enough, Ms. Hill, Thor said. I can tell that this stranger has no hostile intentions towards us. He did save our lives after all. Glad to see someone here has a brain, Piccolo pointed out. Now, can someone tell me what the hell is going on here? Osborn, who had been listening in with his comm link, responded. Take the city, let's give Thor his wish. Osborn, this is Taskmaster. You might want to turn around. What are you? Osborn replied, confused. Before he was hit in the face by a red, white, and blue circular shield. The shield belonged to the legendary Captain America, who led a group of heroes consisting of the New Avengers, the Young Avengers, and Nick Fury's Secret Warriors. All determined to finally put an end to Osborn's reign one and for all. Avengers assemble. Look at that, Maria Hill exclaimed. That, Ms. Hill, is what makes Steve Rogers one of the greatest mortals this realm has ever. Thor was cut off as Hill shouted again. No. Not that. That. What in the world? Is that Gohan? Piccolo soon got his answer as the group looked to see two figures crashing down in front of them. They were revealed to be both Gohan and the sentry grappling with each other. Gohan kicked him away and then fired a Kamehameha right at the Golden Guardian, engulfing him. The KL was then released a giant explosion that covered the area for miles. Thor had then quickly grabbed Hill and flew away before the attack hit, realizing how much power it held. What the hell was that? Who is that kid? Maria yelled, dumbfounded. Thor wondered that too. He recognized this boy from earlier, when he easily took down Osborn and his minions. He could sense that the boy held a great deal of power within him, a power that even the son of Odin couldn't fathom. When the smoke cleared, Gohan saw that his opponent suffered major damage from his attack. The sentry was covered in several major burns and bleeding cuts. You are very irritating, Sentry stated in a demonic voice. I still haven't gotten serious yet, Gohan grinned. Nice to see that your training is finally paying off, Piccolo commented with a proud smirk as Gohan turned around and was surprised to see that his former teacher was here. Piccolo, you're here, exclaimed the half-Saiyan. It wasn't all that difficult finding you, kid. Since there's such a huge influx of Kai around the area, Piccolo replied. You. Both Gohan and Piccolo looked to see Thor glaring at Sentry with pure rage. You've chosen the wrong master, and you've chosen the wrong battlefield, and for that I must smite you down with all the power at my command. Thor charged straight at him, smacking Sentry in the face with Mjolnir, sending him skidding back a few inches. Thor was surprised to see that his weapon hardly did any damage, and now black tendrils were now bursting out of Sentry's back. The two Z fighters then walked up next to Thor. "It looks like the real fight's just starting," Gohan stated as he got into a combat stance. "Doesn't mean we can't take him," Piccolo said as he took off his weighted clothing and then proceeded to crack his knuckles in anticipation. "Aye," Thor agreed as Mjolnir sparked with lightning. "Steve Rogers, you're under arrest," Iron Patriot shouted as he shot a couple of repulsor blasts at the living legend. "Funny that, Osborn. I was just about to say the same thing to you," Cap replied as he blocked the blasts with his shield. "You're all under arrest, you're all going to fry for treason." Cap then smashed his shield into Osborn's face, cracking the faceplate of his armor slightly. "Armor. Shields. Shields down. Interface corruption detected. Interface corruption. Database and power cell corruption detected." "That would be me, Norman," said a voice. Both combatants turned to see a man in red and gold armor similar to Osborn's, but it seemed to be an older model. This was Tony Stark, otherwise known as Iron Man, who had now recovered from his vegetative state. "You know that whole thing about he giveth and taketh away, yeah? I'll have your armor, I mean the armor you stole from me. Shut down for good in just a couple of seconds," Iron Man explained. "Anything you want to say before Captain America pulls off your head?" As soon as Stark finished, Osborn's armor started to malfunction. No Victoria. "Systems failure. Armor override detected." "Look at that, and all of a sudden it's all worthwhile," the webbed hero known as Spider-Man quipped. Bob," Norman screamed as he got on his knees. "Don't let them win, bring it down, bring it all down, Robert, don't let them win." Gohan, Piccolo, and Thor were all holding their own very well at the moment. The Thunder God was shocked at the two warriors' display of power. Never before had he seen anyone conjure up so many different and versatile techniques all at once. These two were truly powerful. Gohan, however, was the first to notice that the Sentry's power was growing by the minute. He needed to end this fight as soon as possible, or else they'll all be overwhelmed. Suddenly Gohan heard a loud voice, and then he saw the Sentry disappearing in a flash heading straight towards Asgard. "No," Thor gasped. Gohan then realized what was going to happen. "Oh no, you don't." The Sentry obeyed Osborn's last order with no hesitation. He flew towards Asgard with the intent of reducing it to rubble. But something prevented him from doing so as the two figures smacked him away, sending him flying to the ground. "What?" yelled Osborn, who looked dumbfounded at seeing his attack dog being knocked around so easily. The Heroes and the Asgardians looked to see who it was and were absolutely shocked to see what seemed to be a man who was dressed in a similar orange and blue guy like Gohan's, but his hair resembled that of a palm tree, while his companion had spiky black hair that defied gravity and was wearing a sleeveless blue jumpsuit with white gloves and boots. "Dad?" Gohan spoke in disbelief. "Father?" Trunks shouted, who had just took down a small army of Hammer agents by himself. He didn't notice Venom sneaking up on him until the symbiote was hit by a blue energy blast, knocking him back courtesy of a newly arrived Goten. "Hey, I guess I saved you a bit early, huh?" Goten quipped with an amused smirk on his face. "Way too early," Trunks joked back as he was glad that his best friend was alright. "Only 5 minutes in this other universe and we already have to deal with utter nonsense such as this," Vegeta, the Prince of All Saiyans, said irritably. "Oh come on Vegeta, this is just a chance for us to show the real fruits of our training," Son Goku said cheerfully. No, Osborn stammered before being forcefully grabbed by Cap. "You're under arrest, Osborn." "No," Osborn screamed as his armor literally exploded off his body, revealing his face, which was painted in the image of his previous villain identity, the Green Goblin. "You have no idea what you've done. You think you've done something here. You don't know what you've done." "Oh, will you shut up?" Spider-Man exclaimed, punching Osborn in the face. I'm the only one who can control him. Me. The only one. Where is Loki, Osborn? Where is my brother in all this?" Thor demanded. "He's dead," Osborn replied. "What? What madness do you speak? He's dead. You're dead. You're all dead," Osborn repeated with madness in his eyes. "He's going to kill you all. I was the only one who could stop him. I was the only one who knew what he really was. How powerful he was. I was trying to save you all from him. You don't know what you've." Osborn then looked up in horror and then pointed to the sky. "Oh no. I was saving you." The heroes looked up to see the Sentry now fully possessed by his alter ego, the Void. "No way, this can't be real." Parker Robbins, better known as the Hood, said in horror as his crime syndicate, which consisted of Madam Mask, the Wrecking Crew, members of the Serpent Society, Speed Demon, Blackout, Tiger Shark, Living Laser, the Brothers Grimm, Griffin, and the Mandrill, who all laid battered and beaten at the hands of 3 total strangers. "Oh, it's real alright, pal," Yamcha said with a smirk as he cracked his knuckles. "Now would be a fine time to surrender," Tien said in a stern tone. "Or else you might end up like your friends here, dear boy," Rashi pointed out. The Hood's response was to point both of his pistols at the human fighters. "You think I'm just gonna lay down and surrender to a bunch of nobodies like you? I rather." The Hood's eyes suddenly rolled in the back of his head as he fell face first onto the ground unconscious. The Z fighters looked to see Krillin having knocked the crime boss out from behind. "Hey guys, it's been a minute," Krillin quipped much to the others' amusement. The reunited Saiyans and the newly transformed Void were staring each down with a lot of killing intent. Goku had previously used the instant transmission to teleport himself and Vegeta to where the sentry was previously heading for preventing him from destroying Asgard. However, that served to only delay the inevitable, as it seemed that the sentry had now transformed into some demonic entity. Goku could tell that this Void was now more powerful than all the other native energy signatures he had sensed thus far. "Incredible," Goku praised. "I knew he was powerful based on what I sensed when we first came here, but this is on a whole different level. He might be able to give some of us a challenge. But even so, I can't just let him run rampant." Goku and Vegeta quickly entered their Saiyan Beyond God states as they prepared to engage the Void, along with Gohan and Piccolo. The Z fighters then proceeded to attack from all sides by launching several Kai blasts that all hit the Void dead on, sending the demonic entity crashing into the dirt. Unfortunately, much to their surprise, the Void rose from the ground, looking none the worse for wear. He then casually raised his hand and black energy shot out, which knocked them back a bit. The Z fighters became enveloped by this energy along with the Avengers and the Asgardians. Goku gritted his teeth in pain as he tried to resist the Void's overwhelming power. "Father, please believe me, I did not mean for this to happen," Loki, the god of mischief also known as Thor's half-brother, lamented. "Asgard will fall, and it is my fault." He looked up at the battle that was transpiring right in front of him. "I led this battle to your door, not to ruin Asgard, but to save it. If you can hear me, Father, do know, though mischief is my weapon, I only meant for Asgard to rule in greatness as it has done so in the past. I could not perceive these mere mortals adding such madness. I could not see that this monster was so all-powerful. Give me this one chance, Father. Let me save Asgard. Let me hold the stones of Norn once more. Let me cast out the power of my imaginings to those mortals who would defend out honor." Loki then levitated some glowing stones right to him. "Please, Father, let these heroes rise. Both Asgardian and mortal. Together. Empowered. Let them fight. Let them save us." The heroes then felt themselves surging with power. You guys feeling this?" Iron Man asked. "I think we're getting a second chance, Iron Man," Captain America replied. "I'm a big fan of those," said Luke Cage. "And a second chance is all the mighty hammer of Thor will need," Thor said with determination. "Uh-oh, I think someone's about to get beat down like no one has ever been beat down before," Spider-Man remarked. "Let their aim be true." Goku saw the heroes getting powered up and smirked. Now they had a fighting chance. It was time for him and his friends to get a little serious as well. "Alright, let's go everyone." Goku then flew forward and punched the Void hard in its face, causing it to cave in. Thor followed up by throwing his now empowered hammer, which succeeded in bursting through the Void. "Okay, this I like. Batteries charged, systems on." Iron Man was bombarding the Void with numerous repulsor blasts, hit him every which way, Avengers, and also people I've never met before. Every direction, everything you got, don't let up. After Cap's shield sliced through him was when the Void noticed that something was wrong. HHMMRR, this is wrong, yes. You heroes aren't playing fair. This is a trick. "Oh, like you're one to talk, you cocky bastard," Vegeta exclaimed as he gave the Void a fierce uppercut. He then shot a Gallic gun, which hit the Void right in its chest. "You threatened Asgard, demon, now feel the power of my father and his father before him," Thor declared as he summoned a massive burst of lightning, which struck the Void dead on. But it was not enough to stop him, much to the hero's shock. "Your new powers, this is a trick, is it? It's mischief." "Mischief," Void repeated as he suddenly realized what was happening. He then turned his sights to Loki and sent his tendrils right at the trickster god with the intention of killing him. "Loki," Thor yelled in worry as he and Iron Man flew over to him. "You'll pay for what you've done here, monster," Loki shouted. "Magic rocks. No. We won't be having any of that." The Void then destroyed the Norn stones and was ready to kill Loki. His tendrils were suddenly bounced back by a green wall of energy, courtesy of the newly arrived android 17 and 18, as the latter then took this time to grab the surprised Loki and get the trickster god out of dodge. "Mind if we cut in?" 17 said with a stoic expression. "You saved me," Loki realized. "Don't mention it," said 18. Thor nodded, silently thanking the two androids for their actions. "You've attacked the House of Odin, vile one, now prepare yourself." Thor then goes on the offensive, pummeling the Void with all his might, sending him crashing onto a field. Norman Osborn had tried to sneak amidst the chaos, only to be met face first into Captain America's shield. Cap grabbed Osborn by the shirt. "Osborn, how did you control him? How do you stop him?" the first Avenger demanded. "I sympathized," Osborn replied shakily. What is he? He's the angel of death. If you ever want to breathe fresh air again, you'll tell me how to stop him. You can't, he's the angel of death. Oh yeah? Let's see about that. It's time to end this. Goku as he readied his signature attack along with everyone else. Kamehameha. Final Flash. Lysenko. Special Beam Cannon. Finish Buster. The Z fighters fired all of their attacks right at the void. The resulting explosion was devastating, almost like several nukes have been dropped simultaneously. The shockwaves rattled both Asgard and Broxton, sending some of the villains who were nearby flying. Osborn took this as an opportunity to bash Cap in the head with a rock as he attempted to escape once more, only for a vicious backhand that sent the crazed sociopath sprawling. Osborn looked up to see a now conscious Ares glaring down at him. "Hello Osborn, don't tell me you forgot what I was going to do to you," Ares said with venom in his voice. "That's enough brother, he and his minions will answer for their sins this day," Volstagg of Warriors 3 declared. "HMPH, he's just fortunate that I'm too injured to do much else." "Well look at that," Iron Man said, utterly astonished at what just occurred. "Aye, the power of those mysterious warriors are truly remarkable," Thor praised. When the smoke cleared, there was now a gigantic crater that seemed to stretch for miles. In the middle of that crater was the sentry's human form, Robert Reynolds, who had now reverted back to normal. The heroes quickly walked over to the crater. Did I do this?" Robert asked meekly. "Yes Bob," confirmed Tony. "Would you please kill me?" Robert begged with tears streaming down his face. "No," Thor refused. "Please. You will live to pay for your crimes Robert Reynolds. You live to see the penance for attempting to destroy my home and killing my brother. For the betrayal of all the Avengers stand for." "You're not listening to me," Robert said in a demonic voice as the void reappeared once again, unleashing his power that sent the heroes flying backwards. "Kill me. Take this," came the voice of Gohan as his super Kamehameha hit the void dead on, promptly disintegrating the void, leaving no trace of it. "Well," muttered Luke. "It had to be done," Iron Man stated. Yeah, normally Goku wouldn't resort to killing his enemies, but there was no other choice since the void was dead set on killing everyone. Just as the remaining Z fighters finally regrouped and before anyone could say anything, the 12 warriors suddenly vanished, much to the Avengers' surprise, as if Asgard saviors were never there to begin with. Toki Toki City. "About time you showed up Trunks," a small purple woman with pinkish hair yelled up at a man with long purple hair tied into a ponytail who had just entered into a room filled with scrolls. Future Trunks quickly glanced around the room to look for what the problem was, but to the Time Patroller's surprise, there wasn't a single scroll covered in darkness to be seen. "You know, for someone who's a member of the Time Patrollers, you're often very late. What's the problem? From the way you were screaming for me it sounded like time as we know it was about to come to an end," Trunks asked the Kai, taking in a few deep breaths to steady his heartbeat. "So what's the problem in the timeline this time? Goku turned evil. Raditz turned good. Vegeta landing on Earth instead of Goku. Majin Buu ate Beerus. None of those. In fact, the past and future of your world is fairly safe at the moment," the Supreme Kai told him. "Then what's the problem?" "We've discovered a temporal anomaly in the multiverse." "Into that universe," the Kai replied, getting Trunks' eyes to widen with shock. She snapped her fingers, and a map of the universe appeared in front of the both of them before it zoomed in a small section of the universe that was far out of the way of anything. "This is where it's radiating from. This universe known by the number 616. There have been numerous temporal distortions and all within a short period of time. Almost like someone was breaking time repeatedly and only put it back together with scotch tape," the Kai informed Trunks. "And that can lead to paradoxes in the time stream, people vanishing from the timeline and all other sorts of problems. It can even affect your world if the time stream isn't properly corrected. Hence, where you come in." "Okay, that sounds like a problem, but why do you need me for it?" Trunks asked. "I mean, there's that crisis with the Demon Realm and the Time Breakers going on right now. Aren't there other Time Patrollers that can handle this?" For a moment the Supreme Kai averted her eyes and instantly Trunks realized there was more that she was not telling him. When the two locked eyes again, she let out a sigh and brought up the images of 3 other Time Patrollers. "I thought the same way as you. That's why I sent these 3 beforehand. And all of them were killed," the Kai revealed to Trunks, who narrowed his eyes. "When the first was killed, I sent the second. He was the strongest of the 3. When he died I sent the third, whose powers are supposed to be able to handle any threat. He was killed as well. So now I'm sending you. One of our strongest Time Patrollers. Find out what's causing the temporal collapse. Fix the timeline no matter the cost. Take Goku and Vegeta with you and find out who is killing the Time Patrollers," Supreme Kai of Time instructed to Trunks, who nodded before he turned to leave. "And Trunks, be careful. There is something about this place that feels different. Like there's so many things there that just don't belong." "Don't worry, I've dealt with plenty of things that shouldn't have been. What's one more? The end.